Hi, this is a Thule Pack and Pedal bike rack which I got from a local environment centre. The previous owner had cut it off his bike, so the straps have been cut right through, and the rubber feet which protect the frame and make sure that the rack doesn't slip up and down were missing. I needed to find a way to make these, and I googled it, but I couldn't really find what I was looking for. So it was a bit of trial and error, and what I've come up with works pretty well. The rack's been on my bike for 2 or 3 weeks now, hasn't moved an inch, so I thought I'd make a video to show the process I went through to make it. Well, actually the process I went through was a huge amount of trial and error and a lot of frustration, but this is what worked, so bear with me and I'll walk you through the process. But first of all, we need to get this rack off the bike. Just going to zoom in a bit. I guess a professional would pause it about now and then restart it, but I'm not one of those. Right, the bike rack usually comes, when you buy it new at least, with a tool which goes in here and it unlocks the ratchet system. I just use a screwdriver because that's what I've got. Basically you're lifting up a little pin and that releases this, and you can pull the strap out. To be fair, that one wasn't in that well. It can be a bit fiddly to get them out. I'd already loosened that a little bit when I was mucking around trying to work out how my camera worked. But the idea is you lift up the pin and that allows this ratchet to move backwards. Sometimes it can be a bit tough to do, so you need to put your Allen key in there as well, at least when my experience. Lift up the pin and then you can loosen it off. There's the pin going up, there it goes, and you can loosen or loosen it off like that. One thing that's really important to note with these racks, now it's stuck, is that you do need a standard Allen key. You can't actually get a bike multi-tool into there. I think they've done it that way to stop you over torquing it and making it too tight, but it is a bit of a frustration when you're actually putting it on or taking it off. So you'll need one of those in your saddlebag, in your pocket, in your seat tube, somewhere. I'll just pause this, get the rack off, and I'll show you what I made. Right, so here's the rack on the operating table. These straps, this one and this one, were already on the rack and I managed to salvage those. These two here are additional ones that I had to make, and I just used one of these like not self-tightening, but a ratchet strap. What I found with getting them off the bike, that these two here came off pretty easily, and these two, they're just a slightly thicker fabric, not much in it at all, but they were a lot more fiddly to get off actually. I struggled a bit with those two. The basic idea of what I've made here is I've got a bit of rubber here which protects the frame, just a seat post, but imagining it's a bike frame. Goes around, that's going to provide some extra purchase for the rack, and it's going to stop your paint getting scratched up by the rack. And then I've got a second one which is just a little piece that can go around over the top, and that holds the strap, because the strap isn't actually sewn onto the rack, it's just threaded through. So that's how it works. It basically just goes around there and then you thread it through the ratchet mechanism which is behind. So all it is a piece like this, a piece of rubber. Looks a bit rough, but I'm sure it's going to last for a long time. And then a second piece like that. And the measurements aren't critical at all, because it must depend on the thickness of your frame, whether you're mounting it on front or the back. But for me, this worked out really well. And I made this out of bicycle side tyre wall. So we'll go run through that now. So initially when I made these, I used bike inner tubes, but they were just too soft, and it wasn't working properly. In fact, it was getting snagged inside the ratchet mechanism. But this, quite a bit stiffer, and it's really tough. This is just a tyre that I popped on my bike and it blew straight off the sidewall. And I don't know why, but it just wouldn't seat properly, so I sacrificed it for other things. So basically, just a matter of taking a big long strip. Of course you need 4 of these and 4 of these, maybe some spares, I don't know. It'll do for the purpose of just showing what I did. Just drop that just a minute. Right, I've cut that a wee bit narrow. Let's just cut another one. No, let's not waste video time. It doesn't matter. The idea of how I'm going to do it is the same. The principle is the same. So, round it off the corners. And then I grabbed a hole punch, a handheld hole punch, and it would not go through this. This is tough stuff. So it needs to be done with either scissors or a nail, or a hammer down punch, which is what I used. If you use scissors, you might get a bit of a sharp edge that could actually rip. So here we go. So just a bit of sacrificial wood, a bit of old pallet, and got my nail punch. Now when I was actually making the proper one, I did lay down the fabric and measure how wide I needed that to be, because obviously I wanted the slot to be just a little bit wider than the fabric. So basically we'll go, takes more than you think, but that did go through. Grab the just grabbing the fabric. I'll use this piece here, scrap piece, the leftover piece from the ratchet, and here. There we go. So that's the stage we're at now. Obviously, if I'd done it properly, I would have had a better shape, but that's alright. I'm just pausing this video as I move through it. I don't want to waste you guys' time trying to get everything perfect. So the next thing to do would just be to join those 2 holes up, and the easiest way to do that with scissors, and the best scissors are actually nail scissors in my experience, but I'll get these ones in here. One side, three sides. So there we go. That's how I made the hole. So then, to install that, let's say we made it properly. To install that onto the rack, let's go up a bit, shall we? Up there. So we're going to take our strap and put it, just make sure you can see this, yep, up through both holes from behind. There we go. And then I'm going to go down and through, so around the first one and behind the inside one here. Now the idea with these straps is that you would adjust how much strap's pulled through depending on how wide the pipe you are putting the rack around is. So if it was going around a shock fork, you'd probably want more strap exposed, and if it was going around a skinny bit of bike frame, you'd want less strap exposed. But for here, I'm just going to pop this one on. That's going to be the one that sits there and goes on the inside under the rack, and then this one here, which is the one that's going to stop this strap from slipping at what I've set it up at. We'll go through there and back through there. And that's that. That's actually already pretty solid. So back to our bike frame and our Allen key. Did I say it was number 5 Allen key? 5mm? Not sure. This is our bike frame. I'm going to pop that on there. We can pull this down a bit. This is going to go up and over. Now hopefully you guys will be able to see. Let's just see if I can bring that down a bit. So there's a hole here. We're going to take this through the hole. What I've found is that it's best to take it most of the way through, because when I take less of it through and wind more of it around the spindle, it becomes much more difficult to get off, because sometimes as you loosen it, it actually tightens up as it double rolls. A bit hard to explain, but I put most of it through and then I can grab the Allen key. Okay, don't listen to me. That 5mm was just on my bench because I wasn't using it. I've just got to grab. Just got to grab the correct tool, which was a 4.5mm. Now I've got to get this back through again. Right. Make sure you can see that. Yep. And then imagine if it wasn't the 4.5. Oh! What an end to the video. Is it the 5? Oh, it is. Look at that. And this one's going to go this way. As you can see, it's quite hard to... When it's on the bike frame, you can only move it from there to there before you reset it each time. And it will be very hard to get a multi-tool in that way. But there we go. That's set up. 5mm Allen key, not a 4.5. Hope that helped. Another quick tip, just whilst I'm here. This is just an old inner tube that I've got to secure things onto the rack. A end frame. Simple as that. Old road bike tube. Knot in one end. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to mention that the previous owner, probably why they threw it away, had it on a bit crooked on their bike, and a bit of tyre rub here. Shows how thick the tubes are, because it hasn't gone through and it still feels really solid. I'd be quite happy to use it myself. What seemed to happen is, when you put it on the bike, if I can move back a bit. Is that good? You keep all the straps loose initially, nearly tight, and then you can just give it a little bit of an adjustment either side to the angle that you want it on before you tighten up the straps. Because this one does naturally seem to sit with this here just a little bit closer to the tyre. Maybe that's been bent in the past, or maybe that's just the way it is. But I found, keep the straps a bit loose, pull it into the position you want, and then hold it in that position, maybe lean your leg against it, and then do up each of the Allen keys. Cool. Well, that's my first YouTube video about bike repair. Probably wasn't a masterpiece, but hopefully it's helpful to someone. Goodbye.